And we're going to start off by answering the question of what is emotional intelligence? And as you can see, it's been abbreviated to EQ. So you may see this abbreviation throughout the presentation. And I just find it funny because EQ kind of reminds me of IQ. So you need IQ for intelligence, but you need EQ for emotional intelligence. So EQ is just the ability to understand and manage your emotions as well as the emotions of others. And I'm going to explain how as we go along the presentation. It's an important skill to have if you want to be successful, whether it be at work or at school, in your relationships, and so forth. And we will be deep diving into the 5 components of EQ, which are self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skills, and motivation. So in order to be emotional intelligent, you also need to have all these 5 components. So we're going to get started with self-awareness. And as you can see, Beyonce's looking at herself, reflecting. So self-awareness is just about recognizing and understanding your own emotions, your moods, and your reactions. It's about knowing what's going on inside of you and why. It's also about being aware of how others perceive you. So self-awareness is actually divided into 2 groups. So you have internal self-awareness and then you have external self-awareness. And when we talk about self-awareness, you actually need to have both of them in order to be considered self-aware. So internal self-awareness is understanding your own thoughts, your feelings, emotions, and your values. It's about knowing what matters most to you, what drives you, what keeps you going. On the other hand, we have external self-awareness, and this is understanding how others see you. It's about being aware of your body language, your tone of voice, and nonverbal cues when you're interacting with others. So I want us to take a moment and just reflect and ask ourselves, are we self-aware? And we can do this by answering some questions like, can I recognize my own emotions, moods, and feelings? Do I understand how my emotions impact my thoughts, decisions, and actions? Am I able to differentiate between my emotions and can I label them accurately? So I'm just going to give you guys a few moments just to reflect on them. Okay. And thank you for taking the time and reflecting just to see if you're self-aware or if you may need some tips to work along with it. But we're going to go into our first Kahoot question of the day. It's not super hard. It's in the context of emotional intelligence. What does self-awareness primarily involve? So yes, you all got it correct. If you said recognizing and understanding your emotions, you are correct. So if you're able to recognize and understand your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors, then you're able to manage your emotions more effectively. Not a cheetahs in the first place. Good job. So here are the tips, as promised, on how we can enhance our self-awareness. So the first thing I would recommend is practicing mindfulness. So this can be things like meditating, yoga, doing some deep breathing exercises, amongst many other free resources that you can find online. Sometimes it's good to journal so that you can track those emotions and see what's triggering them. So if you do decide to track your emotions, you want to make sure that you're not being biased. You're journaling the good, the bad, the ugly, and just everything in between. You could do this on a daily basis, or you could do this on a weekly basis, just so you can try to just decipher your emotions, and this can truly help you get a little more in touch with your self-awareness. You could also reach out to someone you trust and ask them for feedback. Just remember that when you are asking for feedback, you should try to go in with an open mind and a light heart. And if you don't know how to start the conversation, uh, about self-awareness with someone you're asking about feedback to, you could ask them, how well do you think I manage my emotions? Or do you think that once I go into deep emotions, they impact my decisions? And this can get the conversation started and can give you a lot of insight. We're going to do another quick question. Why is it important to identify and label your emotions accurately in self-awareness? Oh, you guys were quick. So yes, to understand how emotions influence your thoughts and actions. So if you're able to accurately identify and label your emotions, like if you're journaling or if you're typing in your notes app, this allows you to understand yourself and it can help you make better decisions, manage stress better. It can help you achieve those goals. And the list of positive things could keep going on and on and on of just how awesome it is to be able to identify your emotions. Okay, not a cheetah. Still in first place. Good job. So our next component of EQ is self-regulating. And this is just managing your thoughts and behaviors in a healthy way. So as you can see, self-regulating is a little more complex because it has more key components to it that fall under the umbrella of self-regulation. So the first thing we have is emotional regulation. So this is us being able to manage our emotions in a healthy way, like identifying and expressing our emotions or just being able to cope with any difficult emotions in a healthy way that we're being considerate to both our mind and our body and to others around us. We also have behavioral regulation. So this means that we're controlling our behaviors, we're making healthy choices. So an example of behavioral regulation is you're able to resist temptation, or perhaps you have a good grip on your time management skills. We also have cognitive regulation, which means you're able to focus on your attention and what's important to you. You're able to stay motivated, you can set goals, and you're able to just follow through with the words or like any commitment that you put yourself in. And lastly, we have social regulation, and this means that you're able to make and maintain healthy relationships because you have a good sense of your communication skills and you're willing to resolve conflicts with others, and you're also there as a helping hand to cooperate with whatever may be. Okay, let's go into a question. Which of the following is an example of emotional regulation? Yes, good job, guys. Uh, so not a cheetahs, still in first place, but Lee Marie is having a streak, so good job. So yes, emotional regulation is all about managing your emotions in a healthy way. So like in the GIF that was up for the question, the person was crying, and crying is a perfect example of coping with difficult emotions in a healthy way. It's okay to cry. Sometimes it helps us just cleanse our feelings or whatever problems or troubles that we may be facing. So, yes. So let's reflect again and ask ourselves, am I self-regulating? Um, am I able to manage my stress in a healthy way? How well do I cope with difficult emotions? Am I able to make healthy choices? How well do I stay focused and motivated? How well do I build and maintain healthy relationships? So I'm going to give you guys a few moments just to simmer in and think if you are self-regulating or not. Thank you. We're going to do a poll question, so no right or wrong answers. What activity do you like to do to self-regulate? Okay, we're a little over the board. So some of us like to journal and meditate, while others like to vent to someone. Me personally, I like to go outside and just take a walk because I feel like if I stay home or inside, I'll just dwell on my emotions and just keep being on my phone. Uh, but the great thing is that all these examples of either journaling or crying or venting or walking um, are perfect and healthy ways to self-regulate and truly try to recharge yourself. So some strategies to enhance our self-regulation is uh, I think the most utmost thing that we could do is be kind to ourselves. This means that we're not judging whatever feelings or emotions that we're experiencing. You're just kind of letting them be and accepting them for what they are at the moment. Distress tolerance. So if you don't know what that is, they're there to help us tolerate uncomfortable emotions without acting out on them in an unhealthy manner. So we could try deep breathing exercises or perhaps just taking the time to listen when we're confronted with unpleasant situations and not reacting right away. We're taking the time to just simmer down before we react. Something I do want to emphasize is that we need to remember that we have the power on uh, how we respond to everything in life. Uh, we may not be in control of an unpleasant situation that we're faced with, but we do have the power on how we perceive it and how we can respond to it. So I think just giving us that power in our mind can give us some peace of mind. So we're going to go into another question. Which of the following is not a bad way to self-regulate? Yes, good job, guys. So yeah, if you said practicing mindfulness, you are correct. Practicing mindfulness can be the answer to anything, honestly. But the other options are bad examples because anytime that you bottle or suppress your emotions, it could lead to both physical and mental health problems. Same thing, sometimes people may try to cope with alcohol or drugs and this can be very detrimental because it can lead to addiction and other problems. So sometimes it may seem easier to neglect or just run away from whatever problems you're dealing with just to ease those emotions. But in the long run, they definitely do start to take a toll on your whole being. And our third component for emotional intelligence is empathy. So empathy is the infamous virtue that we all claim to have, but are we genuinely empathetic? Um, do others perceive us as being empathetic? So if you're empathetic, you're able to understand the emotions and feelings of others in a very compassionate way. So whether they're happy, you're happy with them, or if they're upset, you're offering them a shoulder to cry on or just some listening ears for them, and it truly feels genuine that you care about what they're going through. Uh, so let's ask ourselves some questions to see if we are empathetic. Am I able to identify and understand the emotions of others? Am I able to see things from other people's perspectives? Am I able to resolve conflict effectively? Do I find it easy to connect with others on a deeper level? So I'm going to give you guys a few moments just to reflect. Okay. And here's a question. Which of the following is not a key component of empathy in the context of EQ? Okay. Um, so if you said judging others' emotions and telling them how to feel, you are correct. You should never try to do that. You got to remember that empathy is about understanding and sharing the feelings of another person. It's not about judging their emotions or telling them how to feel, but you definitely do want to be aware of how your behavior is affecting them. Not a cheetah, still in first place. And then we have another question. Which of the following is an example of empathy in action? Good job, everyone. So yes, if you see someone crying, you ask them if they're okay, and you're there to offer them help. So empathy in action involves being able to identify and understand the emotions of others and responding to it in a compassionate and supportive way. You may not always know what to tell someone, but you should always avoid telling someone to calm down or make fun of them to lighten the situation. That just will probably escalate things and could potentially harm or break the relationship with the person who is going through stuff at the moment. So here are some strategies that we can use to just better our empathy skills. You could start off by just listening to what people are saying without interrupting them. The famous saying of putting yourself in other shoes is all about empathy. You want to pay attention to your body language, the facial expressions you make, the tone of voice you have with people when you interact with them. Sometimes it's great just to take the time and appreciate others. And who knows, maybe the emotion that you're feeling or whatever situation that you're going through, you could open up to people, and this can just be a gateway to a conversation because people didn't know that they could open up to you. And then we have a poll question. When is it the hardest for you to practice empathy? So no right or wrong answer. Okay. We're a little all over the board. But thank you all for sharing. So we just have to remember that we all experience empathy differently. So it's common for us to find it difficult to practice empathy when we're tired when we're frustrated, or we just simply don't know the person. And this is because empathy actually requires us to put ourselves in other shoes and try to understand their perspective. Same thing when we're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, it can be difficult to try to put ourselves in other shoes if we're already dealing with a lot on our end. But it's just important to remember that it's okay to not always know what to say to someone when they're sharing their feelings. Just sitting there or standing there and actively listening to what they have to say can definitely just help them. And our fourth EQ component of the day is social skills. So, social skills are things that we do on the daily basis, like active listening when others are communicating. You have effective communication skills, meaning that you're able to, one, listen, and then two, communicate either in a friendly setting or in a formal setting. You're also able to, again, build and maintain those relationships, and you're there to resolve any conflicts that may arise. And some strategies to enhance your social skills. First things first, always try to be yourself. You also want to be mindful of your body language and your tone of voice. Sometimes you're going to have to be willing to compromise because in life, it's not always your way or the highway. Um, as we grow into leaders and to adults, we have to learn that not everyone we meet or encounter is going to have the same viewpoint as us. So it's just going to take some time for us to compromise. And then, of course, just always being a good listener because we like it when people listen to us. So if we can return that behavior for others, it can definitely show our social skills. And our last component of EQ is self-motivation. So, self-motivation is all about being able to set goals and being able to achieve them. People who have high motivation are more likely to succeed. And your motivations are usually influenced by your values, your beliefs, and any goals that you either uh, learned growing up or that you've just learned as you grow into an adult. So we can ask ourselves some questions to see if we are motivated. So am I motivated to achieve my goals? What are my reasons for wanting to achieve my goals? And am I able to stay motivated even when things get tough? So I'm gonna give y'all a few moments just to think on this. Okay. And some strategies that we can use to enhance our motivation are as listed. So something that I've learned that works well is setting SMART goals. So if you haven't heard about SMART goals, each letter stands for something differently. So S is specific, meaning you're setting a goal with real numbers and real deadlines. M is for measurable, meaning that you are able to track your goals because they are measurable. And then A is for attainable, meaning that you're working towards some sort of goal. It can be a little challenging. And then we have R, which is realistic. So this is about being honest with yourself and actually knowing if you will be able to achieve it or not. And then we have time bound, which is giving yourself a deadline. And an example of a SMART goal would be like to improve my GPA to a 3.5 by the end of the semester. So this would be a SMART goal because you're stating that you want to achieve a 3.5 GPA. It's measurable because you want to achieve it by the end of the semester. It's achievable because it's a realistic goal that you can achieve by hard work, dedication, studying extra, maybe going to office hours. It's relevant because you're a college student and you want to be an academic weapon and you want to just succeed. And it's time bound because, again, you're putting it to achieve it by the end of the semester. Uh, as well as using the SMART goals, you can also break down goals. So if you ever find yourself just writing down your goals or aspirations, and some of them just start getting a little too long, you want to make sure that you're breaking them down to, okay, I can achieve this by this and this date, and so forth, or this person can help me achieve this goal. Something that always works when it comes to trying to achieve your goals is that you want to reward yourself whenever you attain a part of the goal, or if you have like measurements of like dates that you should be achieving a goal by. And you can also find a mentor to keep you motivated, whether it be a professor that you talk to and you trust one-on-one about maybe you want to get into Towson or University of Maryland, or you really want to work at a certain hospital right after you graduate from CCBC. So it's just about being uh, able to set your goals and then keeping yourself right on target and trying to meet it. And our wrap up for today, guys. Well, I just hope that everyone kind of learned a little bit about EQ. Just try to remember that people with high EQ are more prone to having a successful and stress-reduced life. If you take the time, you're able to improve your EQ, which can take some extra time, just like with any goals or anything that we're trying to become more efficient at. So it's just about taking the time to try to understand others, trying to understand ourselves, being a little more compassionate with both others and ourselves. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for joining us. Does anyone have any questions?